At some point you just stop seeing any progress because it felt a bit crazy. It probably wasn't the best for my hands, but I got there. Probably never going to knit this blanket again, but all of this just for the border. The one thing that sold me on this blanket was this border. I love a good cable. I hate twisted rib. I hate doing it. I don't really like the look of it. I knew I might not have enough yarn when I started this, but I still started it, and I was right. I don't have enough yarn. Hi, welcome back to my channel if you're new here. Hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, current projects, finished projects, planned projects, and I do talk a fair bit about all of my yarn, just anything that pops into my head while we sit here and chat. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me this week. I am posting this at a bit of a different time than I usually do. I've been away the whole week, so I didn't have time to film when I usually film this podcast, but I have so much to share and so much to talk about, so I didn't want to wait until next week either. So here we are at a different time, and I hope that's going to be okay. But before we talk about everything from this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. And today I'm wearing my Levitate wrap, which is a piece that I really love. I think the idea behind it, and I think the yarn it has, and all of those parts separately are really great. And it is also my husband's favorite thing. I think this is his favorite out of all of the sweaters, cardigans, everything that I made myself. Every single time I put it on, he makes an effort to comment on how much he loves it. So I want to say that this is his favorite, which it also makes it more of a favorite of mine, but I struggle so much to actually wear it. I haven't found anywhere or any way to wear it that feels effortless or like me, or that makes me want to grab for it in everyday life. I usually wear it like this. I have worn it with dresses and that has felt okay, but I usually wear pants and it feels a bit short, like when I raise my hands. It's super short. It also doesn't really stay down very well. It is a bit wrinkly with both the tie here and the snap button here. And I don't know if my gauge was very off. I used Drops Daisy and Drops Kid Silk, so my gauge might be a bit off lengthwise, and also probably widthwise. I think that might be why it fits a bit weirdly, but I struggle to figure out how to wear this. I have enjoyed wearing it the most probably when I wear it like this, because it stays a bit better then, and the snap button also doesn't get as wrinkly, but when I tie it, this wrinkles up immediately, so I struggle a bit wearing this. But as I said, I like all of the parts of it. I really enjoy the yarn. I love Drops Daisy, and Drops Daisy combined with Kid Silk is the softest combination I've felt in my life. It is amazing. I really love the color. I love red. I love a good wrapped anything, so I love all of the parts of this, but put together it doesn't work very well, or I at least haven't found a way to make it work for me. But I'm going to try, and I haven't worn it for a little while now, but when I put it on today, my husband complimented me on it again and said, "Oh, I really love that one, why don't you wear it more?" So I think that's the goal now moving forwards this fall, to make this work and wear it more. And if I don't end up wearing this more, I think I'll have to part with it, because I can't have a piece that's this beautiful and then just have it laying in a drawer. But that's it for what I'm wearing today, and we'll move into my projects. And I think this week that we'll start with finished projects, because those are the most exciting and what I have the most of. And then we have to start with the first project I finished. Usually when I finish a wearable, I wear it on the podcast, but with this one, I didn't feel like that would do justice, because you just see my upper body when I sit here and talk, and with this dress, I don't want to show off just the upper body, but This is my Camisole No9 Dress. I took all of my inspiration from, I think she's called Ingrid Knit. Maybe I'll put the inspo picture and her Instagram name over here. I saw that photo and I immediately had to have it, so I've been looking at that photo multiple times every day, trying to figure out how to do it. Also reading all of her replies in the comments, and she used Camisole No9 as a base, so that's what I've done. And she used Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, so that's what I've done, but I've done it in a different color. Mine is in poppy blue, and I followed the pattern for Camisole No9 until it came time to join under the sleeves. I tried to follow the pattern there as well, but it gave me way too much positive ease, and I wanted this to almost have negative ease, or like no ease. So I frogged that back and decided to cast on way less stitches under the arm here. I think I cast on 10 under each instead of 24 or something. And I also started doing decreases under here. I did 9 of those, 2 decreases on either side, and then I did 8 centimeters without any increases or decreases, because that was the smallest point of my waist, and that lasted for that long before I had to start making increases to fit my hips. And then I started with the increases, also 2 on either side. And for the decreases I did them every 5th row, and for the increases I did them every 4th. And I kept doing these increases for forever like this. I think I did 35 of them or something, so that took a really long time, and I struggled with my motivation because at some point you just stop seeing any progress because it grows so long. And I've learned my lessons. I'm going to get some sort of progress marker or be better at using it, so I hope that will help with my motivation going forwards. But after I'd done about 35 of those increases, I tried it on and it was about mid-thigh, I think, and then I started doing more frequent increases. I still did them every 4th row, but for my increases here I have 2 stitches in between them, so I split those and started doing increases on either side of those. As you can see, that created kind of another panel in the dress. I did that on either side to make the increases more frequent, make more of them to kind of get that dramatic flair that I really wanted. And then I continued doing those increases until I got to my knee, around my knee, a bit below my knee maybe, and then I switched to doing them every 6th row, and then I just did that for as long as I had the patience for, really. I really wanted this done this week. It kind of felt like this was the last week to get it done while it was still summer. But I was visiting my friend for the christening of her daughter. I was the godmother, so we had 4 children combined, so there was a lot of children running around and not a lot of time to work on this dress. And I also stayed there for a week, but I got it done. I just stayed up really late at night and knit like a maniac on this because I really wanted it done while it was still summer, and I live somewhere where it's a bit warmer than here as well, so it really felt like summer there, and I really wanted this done. And I actually managed to do it. I didn't really have faith towards the end because one skein took me about a week. For multiple weeks in a row I could only get through 1 skein each week, and I think this week I had to get through 3 to make it there in time. But I sat down and I just decided that this is going to happen, and I knit 1 skein almost each evening, which felt a bit crazy. It probably wasn't the best for my hands, but I got there. I could probably have knitted it a little bit longer, but I'm also keeping in mind that it might grow as I wear it, and I don't want to stumble around, like trip on my own dress, so I cut it off a little bit early. I also just really wanted it off my needles. At that point I'd been working on it for so long, and I've sunk a lot of hours into this, and there were so many stitches. I think I measured and it took me more than 15 minutes. I think towards the end it took me almost 30 minutes to get through just one row, so I was going a bit crazy. I just needed it off my needles. So at some point I just decided that this is going to be it, and I did my last increase, and then I did the five rows after that. So the 6th row would be me casting off, and I hadn't tried it on in a little while then. Actually, I just decided that that was going to be it, and I tried it on after casting on, and it was, I think it ended up being the perfect length, even though I didn't really decide on the length on anything else than me just being fed up. But it is almost floor length dress now, but I still have a little bit of room for it to grow without me starting to trip on it. So it really worked out for the best, and I got the exact dress of my dreams. It's a bit hard to show how dramatic the skirt is, but I'll show a video of me trying it on. But me increasing so much was a pain when I knit it, but it made for the perfect dramatic skirt that really like flows out around right above my knee. I love this, but it was a pain. I think at the end I had more than 700, almost 800 stitches each row, and I had to make like 4 rows to do 1 centimeter. So I don't think I have any project in my wardrobe where I've done as many stitches. I don't even think my wedding dress was more stitches than this, because the skirt on this is bigger, and this is on 3mm needles, and my wedding dress is 4mm needles. So this was a crazy project. I love it so much. I need to find somewhere to wear it, or I'll just start wearing it every day, because this needs to be worn. I spend too much time and effort and sanity making this for it to not get worn. I still have to weave in ends, and I also have not steamed the last 10 to 15 centimeters of this, and I also am going to iron the last little centimeter on this to make the edge lay flat. I've also considered maybe crocheting a little bit of an edge with the leftover yarn I have. I think that could be nice to get this to lay a little bit better, but I haven't decided on that yet. First, I'm just going to weave in the ends and get to wear this a little bit and get the feel of it and how I want it to be. But yeah, that is my dress. I am in love. I ended up using almost exactly 10 skeins. I have maybe half of the 10 skein left, but I also might use that to make the crochet at the bottom. So I would say 10 skeins to make this. And I think this is the last huge dress I'm going to make for a while. I've made 2 insane dresses this year, this and my wedding dress, and I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the dresses before they ruin my hands. But I am in love with this. It turned out better than I could even imagine, and it's been such a sense of joy and pride and just everything to have been able to make this. Of course, I had a pattern to base it on. I kind of had the skeleton of what I wanted, but to have been able to make the decreases and increases and changes to the pattern where I needed to make it fit me, my body and my vision perfectly has been amazing. And to also trust myself in that way with my knitting, it has been really nice. And I hope this can mark somewhat of a change with my knitting, where I start to trust myself more and make more modifications to make it fit me and my desires perfectly. But that's enough of me babbling on about this dress. If you want to hear more about it, I have a whole video talking about this, but let's move on to my other projects. As I said, I've been visiting my friend the whole week, and she has a really nice yarn store close to her, and I've been getting a lot of yarn there the last couple of years. The one issue though is that when I run out of yarn I bought there, I can't get it here. So this blanket has been waiting. I've lost yarn chicken on this blanket at least twice, maybe 3 times. First I got the original yarn for this at when I was visiting my friend, and then I visited my sister and got more yarn because she also has a yarn store that carries this yarn. This is alpaca ull in the color almond. And then I ran out of yarn again, and I had to wait until I was visiting my friend now, but I got more yarn, and this time, I think the first time I got 6 skeins, and then I got 2 skeins with my sister, and now I got 3 skeins because there was just no way I was going to lose yarn chicken again. I would go insane. So I ended up with some leftovers after this actually, but the blanket is done. I have not had time to do this last part, sew this together, or to block it, so I can't show you it in its full glory. I'll come back with this next week to show you it in its full glory, because I think this is going to have an insane transformation, especially since you can see it doesn't really lay flat now, and also you can see how big it is now. This is going to turn huge. I am really excited. I think this will be a great blanket. This is Mini Augustins number 9, 5, 7, I don't know. I think it's 9. Mini Augustins number 9 by Augustins.dk. I love her blanket patterns. I've knit the Augustins number 1 many times. I think at least 5 times. All of the babies I've known that have been born in the last couple of years have gotten an Augustins number 1 blanket, because I love the Augustins number 1 blanket, and I think it's pretty. I think it's quite functional, and it's also much more fun to knit a round blanket. But this time I really wanted to try a new one. I want to try all of her blanket patterns, so I thought I'd try this one with the alpaca ull yarn, because I felt like it fit very well, both the color and the type of yarn. Unfortunately, I never had enough yarn, so that has been kind of a bummer with this. And I also have figured out that I hate these, what do you call them? The balls you create like that. Hate doing them. So that was not the best with this project, where you do a million of them. So probably never going to knit this blanket again, but I've now tried one more of her blanket patterns. I think I have at least one more left to try. But this is a much bigger blanket than the Mini Augustins number 1. I don't think I realized that before I started knitting this, but I think the Mini Augustins number 1 is about 90 centimeters across when it's finished being blocked, and I think this is supposed to measure 135, 120. I don't know, but this is supposed to measure above 100. I think it's 120 plus something, and I think mine might measure even bigger, which is going to be huge for a newborn baby, but I think this will be great for the baby to kind of grow with. That is one of the great things with a blanket, that it won't just fit a baby for 1 month. If you're going to knit one thing, knit a blanket, because that will last for so long, and then when you're done it can move into being a doll blanket. So blankets are really useful, and I think this is going to last a really long time with a baby. I think this will fit a child. It will almost fit me when it's blocked. So I love this. I'm really excited to block it and get somewhere with this. But where I usually block my blankets, that can just barely fit the Mini Augustins number 1. I have one of those mats, not a real blocking mat, but just one from when my son was a baby, and it won't be big enough for this, so I'll have to see if I have some more that I can puzzle together to make this fit. But this is huge. Hopefully next week I'll be back with an update on this, and you can see it blocked. Right now you can see it has a lot of bumps in it because it hasn't been blocked. Also, I have to just take a little minute to show my favorite part. I knit this whole blanket with everything that I hate. I don't hate looking at it, but I hate doing it. All of this just for the border. The one thing that sold me on this blanket was this border. I love a good cable. I think this border is super pretty. I am really excited to show this to you when it's blocked, and I'm really excited to see it blocked too. So yeah, this is the mini Augustins number 9, and I'm so happy to finally have it off my needles. This has been laying right over here for, I think it's been almost a month since I ran out of yarn the last time, so I'm glad I finally got my hand on more yarn and got this off my needles. And I'm glad I bought more than I thought I would, because if I had just bought enough yarn again, I would have lost yarn chicken once again. So never let the blanket fool you, you always need more yarn. But as I said, I did end up with a little bit of leftover yarn, and I immediately turned that into a hat, because August is originally supposed to be my scrap busting month, where I try to knit through all of my scraps. Unfortunately, it got half of August just flew by way too quickly. I just blinked and we were halfway through, and I've basically only been knitting on the dress and then the blanket, which those are nowhere near scrap projects. So I've started now. From now I'm doing a scrap month. I might have to extend a little bit into September because I started so late, but I'm hoping I can get a lot done in the time I have. I also am hosting a knit along for everyone else who wants to bust all of their scraps. Let me know if you want to join. We have a group over on Instagram where we share what we're working on, tips for patterns, share yarn we maybe don't have a plan for. So let me know if you want to join that. But since I am doing a scrap month, I didn't want to add more scraps to my scrap stash. So when I got leftovers from the blanket, I decided to immediately turn it into a hat. This is basically the Stormy weather hat, but like the more adult version of it. I don't know if this has been translated, but in Norwegian this is called Ruskeværlua. It is the same construction and a lot of the same sizes as the Stormy weather hat, but this does not have those air cuffs. You could easily add them in, but I don't think the pattern comes with it. And the Stormy weather hat has sizes up to 5 to 6 years, and this has sizes that goes all the way up to a large, which would be like a large man, I think. I knit mine in alpaca wool, the yarn that was left over, and I tried first, I cast on for the medium size, and then I knit almost this full brim, but I felt it fit a bit too loose, and I don't like my hats loose fitting. I wanted to almost squeeze my head, so I frogged the whole brim, and I cast on in size 10 to 12 years, I think. That's about 56 centimeters, I think it was. So I did the size of 10 to 12, and then I did the length of the small or medium, I think. Somewhere in the middle there. And then I just cast off, and it used up almost all of the yarn. Now the scrap is so small that it doesn't really count. You can't make anything with it other than like stuffing a stuffed animal. And I also got a hat from it. I've been wanting one of the Stormy weather hat or something like that since I knit my son his first one almost a year ago. I have, if you don't know, been obsessed with the Stormy weather hat, so I'm really glad I finally got one, and I actually don't have that many hats, so I think this is going to be great. And again, I love the double folded brim. It's really nice. It makes the hat fit really nice around here because it's a bit tighter, and it's also warmer. Wearing it inside now is super warm, but that is one thing I made just to at least not add any scraps. But once I had done this, I felt like I'd kind of started doing scrap busting again, and I was done with my two like main big projects that had brought with me. The dress that I kind of felt like I had a deadline on because I wanted it done during summer, and the blanket I wanted off my needles just for my sanity. So after both of those were done and I had already started working with scrap yarn, I looked at my list. I had brought all my scrap yarn. I brought so much yarn to my friend, it was insane. But I looked at all of my scrap yarn and I started going at it. First I cast on this one. I've also, in my scrap yarn, I've been counting all of my single skeins because I really want to get those out of my stash as well. So my scraps are a mix of leftovers, really small scraps, and single skeins. This was a single skein. My son helped me wind this up almost a week ago now, I think. A bit over a week ago. And I think the yarn was called Arbor or something. I don't know. It was gifted to me, but I turned that into this, and this is called the Elskling bloomer. I can't remember the designer, so I'll put that on screen, but these are just really cute bloomers that go by. They're really quick to knit and they take about exactly a skein to knit in the smallest size. This is 0 to 3 months and it has this lovely cable details. I'm so weak when it comes to cables. I love everything cabled, so really wanted to make these. You're supposed to do twisted rib both here and for the legs. I hate twisted rib, I hate doing it. I don't really like the look of it, so skip that. And of course that made it go by way quicker, and it is also size 0 to 3 and a little bloomer. So I knit this I started on it really late one evening after I'd finished the hat, and then I finished it the next morning. I think this took me maybe 5 hours to make. And I got rid of one skein. I had some leftovers, but again, the leftover was so small that you can't do anything with it other than a stuffed animal. And I got my second scrap project, and then I was on a roll. I felt like I was moving through the project so quickly as well, which was an amazing feeling after having that floor length dress on 3mm needles to finally feel like I was making some progress. So I moved on to my next project, which was one I was really excited about. This is the baby bear bonnet. I think the yarn is hedgehog fibers. The yarn maybe just is called Merino DK. I think the colorway is called Mayday maybe. I've made myself a hat in this yarn before. I think I made the hipster hat for myself, and then I made this baby bear bonnet. This is size 6 months and I didn't have enough yarn for it, so my friend borrowed me one of her scraps of Merino extra fine white because I felt like that would blend the best, and I really think it did. I don't think it's super obvious that I didn't have enough yarn. Also, this will be quite hidden when it's actually being worn, so I'm happy with that. And I also got absolutely all of my yarn out of my stash when it came to this one, and a really cute baby bear bonnet too. It is almost so colorful that it's a bit hard to show, but here it is. And I finished this also in just a couple of hours. I think this was the next to last day I was visiting my friend, but I got a lot done. And then I cast on another project, back to the Stormy weather hat. I am obsessed with the Stormy weather hat. I can't get enough of the Stormy weather hat. I also finished one Stormy weather hat I've forgotten to tell you about. I'll pop it in here. I had started on it last week when we spoke, but I finished it while there. That was a Stormy weather hat for my friend's baby. The one that got christened that I'm the godmother to. She had grown out of her Stormy weather hat, and I want everyone I know to have a Stormy weather hat, so I knit one. I knit that in Peer Gynt Poppy in the size 6 to 9 months, so it will fit during a lot of the winter as well. So that's another Stormy weather hat I knit. And then I knit this one. This is in size 3 to 6 months because I'm able to knit about that takes about exactly one skein to knit the 3 to 6 month size. This is Drops Daisy in the color Marzipan, I think. I had one skein left of that after a lot of different projects, and that this took about exactly that. I have a little scrap left, but again, it's so small that it can only be filling. And I got another Stormy Weather hat. I think this marks 22 Stormy Weather hats knit. I still think it's been less than a year since I knit the first one. The first Stormy Weather hat, and it was actually in this exact yarn and color. That was the first one I knit for my son. I think the Stormy Weather hat is really nice in Drops Daisy. It's super soft. It works very well with the pattern. So that's a big recommendation from me. I've tried it in a lot of different yarns now, and Drops Daisy is really up there among my favorites. But I think that is the last thing I have been able to finish so far. And then I started on my next scrap project, which is this one. This is going to be a little sister romper, and I knew I might not have enough yarn when I started this, but I still started it, and I was right. I don't have enough yarn. This is all I have left. This is Little Sister's romper in the small size, 0 to 1 month, and I'm knitting it in Drops Baby Merino in the color orange, and I think I had 30 grams quite exactly, and that's just not enough. I think I would have needed maybe 33, 35, and that would have been enough. But now I need to figure out what to do, if I'm just going to do like a stark line where I change the color, if I'm going to do something else. I think I might ask around if anyone in my family has this yarn, but I think I stole this yarn from my mother to begin with, so I don't think there is more of this yarn in the family. So I'll have to figure out what to do. I'm on the back now. I'm just going to do a couple more increases and then the straps. Don't know what to do. I think I'll just do white for the rest, and then there will just be a line here, but I think that should be okay. But I also want it to be pretty enough so that it is wearable, but also the front is good and the back maybe isn't that noticeable. I don't know. Baby lace mostly on its back when it's 0 to 1 month, maybe. Let me know, what would you do? And then I'm just going to wait to continue to work on this until you've told me what I should do, I think. But yeah, that is the scrap project I'm working on right now, and I think I have 3 more of the Little Sister romper that I want to get through after this, and then a million more scrap projects. But I feel like I've done a lot this week. I got through at least 3 different skeins, so I've made a dent. And now I'm almost through this, so if I keep this up, I might be able to get most of what I wanted done in August at least. And then another active project I have is going to be the one I focus on now until I figure out what to do with my scrap project. But that is, of course, slippers. The slippers have been very neglected for a while now because I have been focusing on summer projects while it is still summer, and I really wanted to get the dress done, so all of my time has been going there. But now summer is slowly coming to an end. I don't have that many deadlines. Now that I'm done with the cross stitch, I'm done with the dress, I'm done with most of my deadline stuff, so now the slippers are what's left, and I don't have that much time until Christmas now. Now I feel I know the 15th of September is the day where I have 100 days left. I've said to myself that I'm not going to stress until then, but I need to get back to slippers. I still think that it's not going to be the main focus this month, since I have all of the scrap yarn that I really want to get out of the way too. But after August ends, it's going to be all about slippers. I haven't finished the slipper in a really long time now, so it needs to happen. I'm still knitting on the first one for my father, and as you can see, I've done barely anything. But I have this bag here with slipper yarn where I've picked out all of the slippers I'm going to do next. So I've eliminated a lot of the thinking, so now I just have to do. At least I'll be knitting on the slippers until I figure out what to do with this little sister romper. So hopefully I'll be able to finish maybe my father's pair. But that is all of my active projects too. But of course, when I visit my friend, I never come home without yarn, and we'll start with the yarn I knew I was going to come home with, that I have been planning to get for months. I started planning this. It's always been a bit of a plan because I think everyone kind of needs to have this, but it's been a real plan ever since this Easter, when I knit a Mario sweater, the traditional one, for my son. He loves that sweater, he wears it everywhere, he always picks that one, and I really want a family match. I think a family match in traditional Mario sweaters is so cute. So even though I'm on a slight yarn ban, I had some exceptions, and a Mario sweater for me and a Mario sweater for my husband was one of them. I think this is the last exception I had this year. So I got that. I got the pattern book really, with a lot of different patterns. Just to have this. I think we have the pattern in the family, but with a pattern as traditional as the Marios, I thought it would just be good to have on hand. I'm always going to come back to this probably, so got the pattern. I also got the pattern because to get Sandnes Garn patterns, you have to buy the yarn that goes with it. So I thought if I'm ever going to get it, it's going to be now. And then I got the yarn. I got all of the reds and whites to go with both of our sweaters. So this is the red and the white. And then I got all of the blue to go with my husband's sweater, but I didn't have more than 13 skeins. I'm also going to be using Petiteknit. They didn't have more than 13 skeins. They didn't have enough yarn for me to buy my size of the blue, but Petiteknit in navy blue is a yarn that I know they have where I live too. It's a really basic one, so I think that's going to be fine. I just need to go to the yarn store here and buy the blue, but I'm going to be making Marios. I've been excited for this for a really long time, and now I finally have the yarn. I don't know when I'm going to start because I have to do slippers, but I really want to like kick off fall and sweater season by making these sweaters. So I think I'll be casting them on early September and working on them whenever I can, and then we'll just have to see how long it takes me. Luckily, most of the Marios is really mindless. The worst thing about the traditional Marios is the sticking. The sticking is horrible, but you can see I'm going to be making this one here. You start bottom up, and all of this is just mindless. So that's really easy, and then most of this is mindless, and then the color work is also much simpler than it looks. I don't know, it also maybe looks simple, I don't know. It's easy to do, and I've done the color work quite a few times before, because the Mario sweaters that we already have, they're not traditional, not in color or fit, because we have a round yoke in the Mario sweaters we already have, but the color work is the same. And then I also have my son's traditional one, and I've made my father Marius with round yoke before, and I think a couple of others too. So I've done the Marius pattern quite a few times, so I'm not stressed about that. Just the sticking I'm stressed about, so it might take me a long time to get both of them done, just because the sticking scares me, and I don't think my grandma loves sticking either, so we'll just both procrastinate it forever, I think. But I really want both of the Mario sweaters done before my son grows out of his. That's like the main goal, and then I'll probably continue to make him a Mario sweater in every size, because I love the traditional Mario sweater. I thought I didn't love it that much, and that it was kinda done so much that it was too basic, but I love it. You can't really beat tradition, and one of my goals for the end of this year and also probably next year is to explore more traditional knitwear and do more of the traditional Norwegian patterns. Probably I'll have to learn to stick myself if I'm going to do that, but I really want to do more of those traditional patterns, the kofted, everything. The older I get, the more I love them, and I want more of them in my wardrobe. So that's some yarn that I got, and I think that's the last yarn that I'm allowed to buy this year. But my friend also usually sends with me yarn whenever I'm there, so I can knit her projects for her. So I got quite a lot this time because she does not have time to make all of the projects she wants for her kids. So I got 4 of this lovely color of Drops Daisy that I'm probably going to knit chunky rib pants with. And then I got 2 of this Sunday and 1 of the Kid Silk that she wants me to do some sort of cardigan or sweater with in size about 9 months. So I'll have to figure that out. And then I got this alpaca silk, which I'm really happy about. I love alpaca silk, but I don't have the money to knit with it myself. I got 4 of this, and that I'm going to turn into a dress, I think, in size 2 or something. I think it's called Synne Dress or Synne Kjole by Knits by Jacobsen. Really pretty. And then I got some of this baby merino. I've used this exact baby merino color to knit her teddy pants before, and she loves those. She loves this color after that, so she wanted me to just make whatever I could. I got 2 skeins of this, so I think that might turn into some sort of tights maybe. And then I got 6 skeins of this Drops Nepal. She said, I don't know what to do with this. So either I'll find a good pattern to use this for the baby, or she said use it for slippers. So if I don't find a good pattern, I'll use these for slippers because I didn't get enough yarn for all of the slippers, so this might come in handy. And then at the very bottom here, I have 400 grams of this alpaca boucle. She had a period, I think, last winter where she bought so much boucle. She bought 400 grams of this, 400 grams of this but in white, and then I think 600 grams of this but in dark grey, and she's made 1 cardigan in the dark grey, and then she has plans for the white one, but she said it's just going to be too much boucle if I make something with this too. So she gifted me this, so I'll have to figure out what to do with it. I haven't knit that much with boucle before. I did it once when I knit one of the sheep for my son, but I haven't tried it for any wearables, so I'm really excited to see. I think I'll turn it into a sweater. I did try her cardigan that she knit with boucle, and that was really soft, but I don't know how she didn't go crazy because you can't really see a difference in the knit and purl side, and especially since she knitted as a cardigan, I don't know how she did that. But I also got that yarn, so all in all I got a lot of yarn from my friend. Luckily some of this yarn doesn't need to finish that soon. I think the one with most of the deadline is this, because I need to make that in size 9 months, and that's about, she's 3 months now, so she needs to have it in like 3 months, but that still gives me quite a lot of time, and other than that I have at least 6 months to do everything else. But yeah, got even more yarn, but my rule is that I am going to limit what I buy, but if the yarn is already in the stash of someone I know, it doesn't really matter if it's in my stash or their stash. We're just all combined going to try to get through our stashes. So my stash has grown a lot this week, but at least I'm getting through the parts of my stash that I'm struggling with, and then getting new stuff in that just gives me more motivation, I'm fine with that, as long as I try to keep track of it. And I don't want to go out and buy yarn when I have things in my stash, except for the things that I know I want, and that has been on my wish list for months. But getting yarn, I'm just going to be fine with that. My goal isn't to not have a stash or to get my stash to 0 and to be super strict with myself and ruin the joy with yarn and knitting. I just want to be more mindful in how I consume, and consuming my friend's yarn stash, that's fair. The yarn is already bought. It's not really contributing to overconsumption if I just take the yarn that she's never going to get around to. But I think that is everything from this week. I think this might have been a bit rambly and chaotic, but I hope that's fine. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the absolute world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!